My name's Ron Bistady, and I was, my story is, okay, I was, from the time I was 18 years old, I was pretty much in rebellion and just away from my parents and stuff, and went out on my own at 17. So I started messing with drugs. And so from the time I was 18 to 39, I was from cocaine to heroin, so I was a heroin addict for almost 20 years. In and out of jail a couple times. That didn't stop me. The second I'd get out of jail, I'd go right back onto drugs. So I went from smuggling in the 70s to a meth maker in the 80s. So I had a lot of drugs, and I was just, for 20 years, I was totally in the drug business. So I had a girlfriend and had 2 children. We had a fight, and we split up. And my girlfriend left me for 7 months. She ended up going to a little Baptist church. She ended up getting saved and accepting the Lord into her life. And at the end of after 7 months, I seen some other circumstances that came up in my life. I ended up moving back in with her, and she let me come to her house with as long as I go to church. And so I went from being a full-out drug addict. I did a methadone detox that was like a 21-day detox, and then just being around my girlfriend, which she became my wife a year later, no, less than a year. I stayed around people in the church. I went to church, I went to fellowships, and I was covered by her, so I wasn't, I had somebody close to me that would help me to recover, and I started reading the Bible. So I accepted the Lord myself, got baptized, and got very serious on reading the Bible, and found a lot of truths in the Bible and a lot of things that became reality in my life. So 17 years, I ended up getting married to my wife. For 17 years I lived clean, no drugs, alcohol. And I felt like I was living in a love bubble. I mean, my life it just like turned around. I went to school for a year. I started working for the, and so me and my wife ended up getting divorced 17 years later. I don't know what happened. Well, I do know what happened, but we ended up separating, and for another 2 years, I stayed involved in church and prayer and reading the Bible. And after 2 years, I felt like I fell into unforgiveness. I was keeping a journal, and I looked back. And one of the reasons that I got separated, I was holding unforgiveness against somebody. And I stopped going to church, I stopped reading the Bible, and I stopped praying. And over a 6-month period, my youngest son moved back into my home. And I started going, Friday night after work, I'd go to the bar with him. It was Father's night out. We'd shoot pool, and I started drinking. And I never really had a drinking problem. It was all drugs. So I did that for a few months, just Friday nights out. Then cocaine got re-entered into it, being out late at night and stuff. And then it started going to Oxycontin. So I started, over a 6-month period, I started using more and more. I quit my job. I took time off my job. I didn't really quit. I got a doctor's okay to take time off. And I knew I was in trouble again. I was starting to become addicted again. So I couldn't bring myself to come to repentance. I couldn't go back to church. I felt guilty and shame. I knew that I was in trouble, so I started talking to a couple people, a pastor friend of mine and some other friends in the church and stuff. And I really couldn't find anybody that could help me. So I finally talked to this one friend of mine, and he recommended this Restoration Ranch where we're at right now. And so it took me about a month and a half to get here. When I finally got here, the first week I was here, we went to a church service, and I basically confessed in an altar call. I confessed my sins before the Lord again, and at that point right there, it's like I was right back into my sobriety again. I was totally like delivered from the drugs. And after I'd been an addict for 20 years and walked into the small Baptist church, I was delivered from drugs. So the 17 years I went clean, I really didn't struggle with the drugs. I didn't. They didn't tempt me anymore. And so like the first week I came back to the ranch, the same thing happened to me. And so I'm separated from my wife. My kids have all grown up. And here I am at a ranch, back with drug addicts and stuff again. The 17 years I was clean, I was totally involved in the church and stuff. And I sort of separated myself from my type of person, that the people I hung out with, the drug addicts and stuff. And so now I find myself back at this ranch, and I love the Lord, and I get my relationship with Him restored. And what I experienced in the falling away and going back on the drugs and alcohol, I experienced people. It was hard because I knew I needed help, but I couldn't really. A lot of people are scared to get involved and to step down with a person that's having a problem. A lot of people really are, and a lot of people really don't know what's really going on in their lives and stuff. Because the drugs and alcohol, it's a trap. Once you're doing the drugs, you are trapped. Your mindset is 100% different. Everything changes. And so I've experienced being an addict for a long time, and then walking with the Lord, and then falling away, getting back on the drugs, and just coming out of it the second time. And there's so many people that fight drugs and alcohol their whole life. And I don't think there's a lot of people around that can really help them and that have experienced it and stuff. So at this point in my life, I've been here at the ranch for 2 years, and I'm starting to learn how to love addicts and people that have faults. I mean, I have plenty of faults myself. I've had many, and just to love them with the love of the Lord, and to not look at the outward sign. You see somebody come in here all rough and beat up, and not to look at that, but to look at them as children of God, of the Lord Most High. And just to know that they're special. In the Lord's eyes, He created each and every one of us. People are special. And in this world, we get caught up in so many things, in bad relationships, in drugs. We get caught in the traps of this life. And I believe that the only way out is a relationship with the Lord. And so I am very content and happy being here right now to be able to, I feel privileged to be able to work with some of these people that come in to the ranch here, and to learn to have a relationship with these people. And the relationship that we have is like searching for the Lord. And